Hey guys, so Netflix finally dropped the second core of the first season for Eden Zero, so episodes 13 through 24. So we're finally back, and I love the first episode. It kind of felt like a filler at first, but honestly, I really like the way that the episode kind of played out. You can tell JC staff had a lot of fun with it. You can definitely tell that Hero had a lot of fun with it because it's like an isekai slash SAO kind of plot that it had going on, and I mean that in a good way. First off, the new intro is really good, and then I really like the outro as well. As usual per anime, some of the things I noticed in the intro and the outro, kind of spoilers. Like in the outro, you kind of see. So we found Herman. It looks like the fourth one appears, like the ship, like keeper. Basically, we see her in the outro a little bit. In the intro, of course, like rocks ass, and it was really really fun. And reminds me these intros. I really love the way this series is playing out so far. It just reminds me a lot of early Fairy Tail, and I mean that in the best way possible. Because again, early Fairy Tail, man, good times, and that's where I'm really feeling with this one. So it keeps starting off like we saw this narrator in the first core as well. She basically comes, and I'm not sure if she's going to be an actual character or if it's just some fourth wall breaking kind of narrator, kind of like Fairy Tail had a narrator, and I'm not sure if this one, like this narrator, is like an actual character, or if they're just kind of there to explain certain things. It'll be interesting how it comes out. It's basically she looks like some fourth dimensional being, where it's like, oh yeah, time's kind of irrelevant, blah blah blah. Explains like kind of like the events of like what's happened and whatnot. A little bit off. It feels weird at times, but I'm like, okay, I guess maybe we'll figure out who or what she is later. So they finally found a hermit, and she's by this giant space statues, and it looks like those statues from like kind of like Lord of the Rings, like the Fellowship of the Ring, like when they're passing along the river and they see those two giant statues. It kind of reminds, it's basically like that in space, and Hermit's just like big chilling up there. They find her, and she's completely mind broken. I mean, she's completely potatoed because she's like, all of her systems are normal because she's an android. She's like an extremely advanced android. Like all of her, I'm pretty sure she's in charge of like cybersecurity on the ship because like Sister's the healer, and then the other one, I forget what function she's like the caretaker. I'm pretty sure like, and they mentioned a comment like that like normally the cybersecurity or the systems on the ship are like unbreakable, and I'm pretty sure that's what Herman's role is. She's basically like anything that has to do with the ship's like cybersecurity or anything like that, like she's in charge of. So they find her, and she's completely like just potatoed. She's just lying there kind of like a barren husk, and they're just like, well, what the hell? And so obviously they're like, oh yeah, well maybe her heart's on, this digital world. Makes literally zero sense, but who cares? It's fun. And like, okay, we're gonna deep dive in. I'm like, hell yeah, boy, it's a Sword Art Online plot, let's go. So they're like, all right, well, we have to go to this digital planet because that's where we think that I don't know what a good way to explain what they're trying to say here is. It's like it's quote unquote her heart, but I essentially think it's like her personality or programming is there, and they have to go put it back in her body, and it's there in this digital planet. Does it make sense? No. Do we care? Not really. It's like, okay, it's gonna be a fun plot. So they're putting on the morph suits, and like I died laughing. Shiki and Weiss over here dancing out around like a bunch of idiots because they're like skin tight, and Rebecca's over here like staring at her ass to make sure it looks really good. Thank you, JC staff. Never change. Always coming through with the visuals. And they're like and then the Hamora's over here like looking at her tits, and then they're like, oh, okay, all right, let's go. So they all get and it's kind of like an SAO thing. Like if you get killed in like this virtual world of Digitalis, like you actually die for real as well. And we see obviously there's like a laughing coffin type like dipshit that's in there killing people. So they all get yeeted to this like Digitalis world, and I died laughing. So Shiki goes to the character creation screen, and freaking he starts going through it. Like he becomes this giant sumo wrestler, and then he becomes this like rock monster, and then he becomes Ichi. Man, I died so hard when he turned into Ichi. I was like, oh man, I'm so glad Hero didn't forget him. I don't care what anyone says. People always gave Ichi a shit in Fairy Tail, but I thought Ichi was absolutely hilarious. So I thought that was a really cool callback that he had in this episode. And you can tell they had so much fun making this episode. So they all show up in the virtual world, and Rebecca looks hot, thankfully, and like she has like this cat girl outfit on, and then we see everyone else show up, and it's like Rebecca's like, "What the shit? What did you guys do?" Freaking Hamora shows up, and it's like Hamora's like a tomboy prince on this giant Adderall rabbit. This rabbit looks like it's on Adderall, cocaine, and brown all simultaneously, and it just constantly keeps shaping its head, and it's so stupid looking, but I love it. And then everyone else shows up. Weiss shows up, and turns out it's a landmine. Weiss shows up, and it's like this hot Amazonian babe. In reality, Weiss is like, "Oh yeah, like why not, right? We can just choose whatever." And then like Hamora even says the same thing. She's like, "Yeah, why not, right?" And then Pinot shows up, and it's just this cute rabbit girl. And then and then Shiki shows up, and it's this absolute giga Chad where it's just like 500% beef, zero intelligence, like small head, full body, and like I died when I started laughing. Rebecca's like, "What the hell's wrong with you guys?" He's like, "Oh yeah, well why not, right? We can just change our appearance because why not? It's a virtual real world, blah 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 blah." My favorite part though was the rabbit, like that whatever the hell went on during character creation for Hamora, where it's just like this giant Adderall rabbit that keeps shaking its head. It's like the Energizer Bunny's like mutant great value cousin. But I really like that. So they show it to the town, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They kind of explain the rules of the town. They kind of rent an inn for the night. And then you see the black coffin guy, laughing coffin guy, like from, there's like this player kill that goes around. And again, if you kill the NPCs, like you get banned from the world, so that's why it's kind of relevant. And then, like, there's this guy, there's a bad hombre going around killing people, and then and he calls himself like a chosen player. So I assume he has like special permission, so they can't even kick him out of the world. They're looking around, they're like, oh, because they're trying to find out where Hermit is, and like, oh yeah, we don't really know. They sleep in an inn for the night. Like that, the guy, like we see like the player killer come up, and he's like, oh, I'm looking for some hot girl, like, he's looking for a piece of ass, and I don't think there's any piece of ass around where he's at. And we see that with the kebab he makes later. So guys going around and killing a bunch of dudes. Then like Rebecca and that party finds out. They head towards that way, and they meet like a bigger monster. Blah blah blah. Lets them know that there's that player killer's that way. They show up, and the player killer has kebabbed like 4 or 5 different players. And again, once if you get killed in here, you die for real. So there ain't no healing these poor saps. So he makes a kebab out of them. He lets them know that he works for a guy named Drac and Joe, who, get this, if you've seen like Fairy Tail, like, come on, like, work Horation Says Galactica. So for those of you who remember, but back on, it was one of Fairy Tail's best and probably most popular arcs, is when they go to Fairy Tail Island. The Horation Says is the one who shows up and kind of busts the party and kind of had Makarov's old master. The girl that was helping out Jalal, I forgot her name. She was the one who had that OP hack time. And Drac and Joe, there was a guy. Drac and Joe looks a lot like another bad character that was in Fairy Tail. And apparently this dude's stupid powerful. Guy can literally blow up planets. So guy has some crazy strength. I don't know how they're going to be able to exactly stop. Thing is like, okay, let's hold back the power scaling a little bit here, guys. I'm like, we're like, Shiki's strong, but it's like we're in the beginning game, and you're already introducing us to villains who can like blow up planets. Like, okay, let's scale it back a little bit, boys. Like, let's work our way up there. So they learn that the player killer guy basically works for Drac and Joe of the Horation Says Galactica. I was like, okay, damn. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. And then at the end, we see Hermit, and she's like, she's talking about Shiki too. And then it's really obvious that Shiki and her know each other. And we see that too from the very spoiler outro. Because if you watch the outro, I was like, oh dang, I kind of wish I hadn't watched it. It's a really cool outro. I like the song, but you see all the 4 like ship maintainers in the quote unquote Demon King, who are there, and it's obvious they're holding Shiki there at the beginning, and like you see a young hermit, and you see like younger versions of all like sister and whatnot who are all there. So it'll be interesting. To see when they start talking about where exactly they found Shiki, because it's obvious like his birth is of significance, and they probably found him in obscure circumstances. So it'll be interesting. It kind of sets that up a little bit too. So next episode, I mean, I don't expect it to go too different. We'll probably this skinny clown's probably going to get a beat down from Shiki and the boys, and then we'll probably see learn more about Drac and Jero. I probably expect probably some more kind of a backdrop for Shiki, since Hermit's there, and it's pretty obvious that it's kind of set that up at the end of this episode. Probably some more backdrop there about maybe things they've talked about, but it's clear that Hermit already knows Shiki and has already met him because she was talking about him. So honestly, I love the episode overall. It felt, again, like it started off like it was going to be kind of like a filler type episode, but you can tell they had a lot of fun doing it, and I really enjoyed it. The character creation scene was gold. I don't care what anyone says. I love Ichi. The Adderall rabbit was absolutely hilarious, and I hope that thing stays around because it's so stupid looking that you can't help but like it. That's all I got for this one, guys. Overall, this episode was really funny. You can tell JC staff had a lot of fun making it, and Hero had a lot of fun writing it. And hopefully they stay. I hope that this arc kind of lasts like 2 or 3 more episodes, because I feel like there's some still fun you could probably have in here, but we'll probably be out of Digitalis probably next episode or the one after that, and Hermit will probably be back on board, and we'll be on the route to find the 4th one. And I will probably put out the episode 14 tomorrow. Let me guys know what you thought in the comments below. Did you think the character creation scene was hilarious as well? Alright, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.